Hello, it's Nikki, and welcome to a brand new week. I have quite a big topic to share with you today, and it's one that potentially could be a little bit triggering. It could bring up some things, so I just want to say that from the beginning, that I'm not there with you in the room, so it's not like I can kind of give you a hug or make you a cup of tea or any of that sort of stuff. So I want you just to be really gentle with yourself when you're listening to this, and listen to it at a time where it's going to work for you, I would say. You may just kind of sail through it and be like, all right, Nikki, you haven't said anything I haven't heard before, but I'm just saying it may bring up some stuff, and that is my commitment to you as a coach, that I just want to make sure that you're in a safe place to receive this or give it the time that it needs. It's almost like you would never operate, well, I probably wouldn't anyway, but farm equipment when you're sedated. It's that sort of moment. So I just want to say today that I'm going to be bringing up some things, all really good things that will give you lots of ideas, hopefully, about your business and where you go forward and how you move forward next. But I just wanted to say also that it's going to be a bit of a juicy one. Okay, I am sharing this because I've been going through my own transition recently. So I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about turning 40 in November, and I have reframed that process of not saying, right, how can I do all these things before I'm 40? Because actually, given the state of the world at the moment, I've already had 2 holidays cancelled this year. Not like I'm one of these people that goes on 9 holidays, but they were both weddings, they were both abroad, and we were going to make them into a great situation, but that is not happening now. And I think there's this pressure sometimes to do all the things, to start all the things, to plant the seeds. And I have reframed this time in actually closing down stuff, or healing things, or packaging things up and letting them go, or giving time to things that have perhaps held me back. And it's been a real sort of realization that I don't want to take them forward. And one of the things that has come up a lot is this sense of your USP. And this has taken me a long time to get to, because I have been one of those people, like Marie Forleo always says, you know, if you know of her work, she talks about multi-passionate people. And I'm definitely in that camp. There's lots of things that I love to do. And I was even thinking the other day, gosh, I really want to bring some dancing or some movement into my coaching or into my social media. Like, I would love it if I don't know, if I did a dance class with people, or there's so many other things that I really am passionate about doing. That might not be coming anytime soon. But when I heard this phrase of multi-passionate, I immediately resonated with it, because for so many, or so much of my life, I guess, I've always felt like I haven't been able to tick a box quite so easily. And I always used to kind of not envy, but I used to be intrigued by the box tickers, the people who could go, well, this is just what I do Monday to Friday, and then I switch it off and I don't pay attention until the following Monday, and on a Saturday and Sunday I'm this person, and then I put that person to bed and I wake up on Monday in my corporate situation. I am not that person, and I am that person who wakes up in the middle of the night going, oh my goodness, I've got to think about this of a podcast, I've got to write it down. Or yeah, sometimes it's a lot, like not being able to switch off your brain. But it's a great thing as well. And I think this is a really key part of doing this work, that your USP is exactly that. It's all about the nuances, the differences, the quirks, the experience, the situations that you've been, that you bring to the table. And I also want to say that you can be your whole self and bring your whole self to the table without feeling like you have to do a behind the scenes or share all the trauma that's happened in your life, or do a, salacious story where you talked about somebody that you slept with when you were a teenager. Like, you don't have to do any of that stuff. I'm just bringing a close to that conversation just in case there are small ears lurking around. So when I was thinking about my USP, and I'm doing lots of speaking talks this year, so I'm kind of updating a few things. And whenever I do this, I become really intentional. What do I want to say? And as soon as I start going, I once heard a talk about something being 3 paragraphs, and then you put your quote in, and then you do X, Y, and Z, I was just thinking, no, actually, that's not the way that I need to do things. I actually need to come at it from a feeling point of view. So how would I do what I want to have on my website in person? How would I communicate this? And what do I actually want people to know? So one example I'm going to give you is I'm updating my speaking page at the moment. And one of the things that I'm going to have in there is I am a professional actor who's been doing this for 30 years. And I'm going to find a nice way of saying this. But I basically want to say I'm a safe bet. If the you-know-what hits the fan, I'm going to have that ability to go, look, I'll just put my show pants on and off we go. I am a safe bet in those situations. I'm actually good in a crisis. Not that I'm trying to welcome those by any means, but if you're saying, oh my goodness, sorry, we've had a problem with the sound. Can you just wait a minute? Oh gosh, there's going to be a weird bit of scenery on the set. Is that all right? Can you work with it? Absolutely. Because I've done all of these things for so many years, I've had so many of those terrible blooper moments where stuff's fallen on my head, when I've fallen on the floor, when my costume's broken, when all sorts of stuff has happened. When there was a thunderstorm, I think we had a lightning situation once when we were on stage in a ballet show, all kinds of drama. But what has come from that is that I'm really good in a crisis, and the show will go on and I can cover it and make it work. And I was thinking, actually, that's what you want from a speaker. Yes, of course, you want the slideshow and you want a few jokes and you want people to come away and go, that was really good. Right, should we go for a wine and discuss it? Like, I know that people want to have that, but also as a organizer, you want somebody who's not going to freak out and freeze if things start to pivot or move in a different direction. So what got me thinking about this was a podcast that I listened to with Ali Brown, and she always comes up with really insightful things. She's somebody who's been in this coaching space for a long time, and I've followed her work, probably for the last 10 years. And she's really intrigued me because she has, and if you don't know her, I would seek her out. She might not be for everybody. She on the outside you think, oh, she's very shiny and very coachy, but there's a lot more heart to her. So especially her solo episodes on her podcast, do have a little listen. And one of the questions that she said in my ears, she said it to everybody else who was listening, but I clearly took it personally. Yes, Ali, I'm ready to receive. She said, what should you have moved through by now? And I was out on my run and I was going up a hill, so I had to slow down. And so I was in a bit of a walky moment. And I literally stopped in my tracks. What should I have moved through by now? And this question can be taken in all kinds of different situations, of course. And there are some things for individuals, for some of us, for all of us, that require professional help and time and energy. And it's really hard for me talking about this because I don't know how it's been received, and I can't just say, well, I think out of everybody, this is what's happening. I'm not assuming anything here. But when I thought about it in terms of my own experience, which I guess is the safe bet in this situation because I know what has happened in my life and I can't necessarily guess what has happened in yours, I was thinking about all the limiting beliefs or all the stories or perceptions that have been placed on me throughout my life. And as I started thinking about this, and when I started thinking about what do I need to move through, and I'm very familiar with myself in, I do a lot of self-development work. I know my old triggers. I know my stuff that comes up. I'm like, oh, hiya. Oh, you're here again. Great. Bugger off now. See ya. I know it's the same sort of things. And when I've been doing this work, I have come to realize that actually a lot of things that have been said to me over the years, when people they say it on Big Brother all the time, I'm going to tell you about yourself. And you can see the person like, all right then, bring it on. But I haven't had that kind of sassy attitude necessarily. Sometimes I've just kind of nodded and smiled and been like, oh, okay, fine. Especially when I was younger as well. Because of course, my parents and my family sort of brought this to us. Like, yeah, don't be cheeky as a kid. Don't be, don't be an a-hole, basically. So there were some times where even as a kid, adults would say things to me, and because I was a kid, somehow I had to look like I was accepting it. And then part of me was like, oh, I don't think that's true though. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like it should be something that's wrong, or I'm not breaking a law, or I haven't hurt anybody, and I'm doing it with the best intention. And it's only now when I look back that I realize what those things are. And I'm going to share a few of them and how they've actually changed and helped me in my business. And what I'm looking for, I guess, is a way that you can find the light in them. You can find the positivity, you can find the spin, and you can actually use it for good. So the first thing that I was always told as a kid from, people at dancing to teachers at school, but often in a negative way, people that my mum met in the street, and would happen. I mean, my parents are not pushy parents by any means, but sometimes they'd happen to mention, what I'd done or something. And there would usually be this very snippy response of, whoo, you're ambitious. Oh, ambition. And already I'm like, get rid of it. Get it out of my body. And as a kid, I was thinking, no, but I am really ambitious. I do know what I want. And I do want to do big things. And this was not like big things as in like, I am better than Yao type situation, like that phrase from the Fast Show. It was like, I want to create stuff. I want to make stuff. I want to see if this is possible. I want to be the best version of myself that it can be. I want to challenge myself. I want to, and keep saying it all the time, it's like, I want to knock my own socks off. I want to be excited by life. Because quite often, and I was that kid who had their hands through the banisters, or I was always listening to people on buses or airport. Suddenly I'd go quiet and my parents would just be thinking, oh, she's listening. She's clocked that person on the train and she's listening to their conversation. And I was that real absorber of people's life. I really got a sense of people. And when I would hear conversations of, oh, it's another week, or when people would say, oh, it's only 27 weeks to my next holiday, I'm on countdown now. And I used to just think, oh my goodness, I don't want to spend my whole life wishing or I was somewhere else doing something else. So this sense of ambition that was in me, it actually wasn't to do with anybody else at all. It was to do with my own hopes and dreams, I guess, and what would be possible in the world. And this has been so useful. So to go into the flip side of this has been so useful in my own life, because it has often been one of the things that's kept me going. Because I was talking on a podcast the other day, I was interviewed for something, and she was asking me about rejection and if I'd ever had any. I was like, I mean, how long is your podcast? But yeah, I've been rejected all the time. There's been hundreds of jobs that I've gone for that I haven't got. There's been discovery calls that I've done and the client has said, oh my goodness, I would love to do this, and I've never heard from them again. There's been, and then relationships, that's just another story entirely. But I have been rejected a lot. But one thing that has helped me is to connect with this ambition of, how can I shake things up? How can I be a leader? How can I do something for the next generation? It's been really interesting talking to my 5-year-old about business and doing what you love and what work means and why you have to work, and opening up, I guess, that conversation, which is what we've done throughout being at home during COVID, is that it has been very prevalent, because it does feel like we all have to justify what we're doing in that room when we close the door. What are we doing? How's the day going to run? What's going to be important in terms of what needs to happen in our family? So it's been really interesting looking at how that has positively impacted me in my adult life. And also, it really impacts and supports my clients. Because sometimes my clients will come to me, and there's a favourite of mine who I've worked with probably for about 5 years now. And she'll often come and she's like, right, I've got 18 things, Nikki, that we need to talk about today. And we usually have it, without COVID, but and in normal life, we would sit down face to face, but I love that sense of coming to the table with a notebook of, this is what my heart is calling. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I want your support to make happen. So when I see that ambition in somebody else, I can bring all that love and kindness and support and all the rest of it. But I am able to sit in that place of, yep, tell me more. Tell me more, because I don't have any of that agenda of like, that's a bit much love, as if that's going to happen. Woo, bit ambitious there, because I know what that feeling feels like as well. And so when I have clients who go, oh, I think I'm going to do my monthly target this month. I think I'm going to double my income. I'm like, yeah, you are. Let's do it. Off we go. So ambition has been really interesting. As I go through this conversation, I would love you just to think about maybe some of the ones that come to mind for you. And of course, do it in that safe way as well. Okay, the next thing, she knows what she wants, doesn't she? The knows what she wants is a popular one, because there is this sense that we should just get what we're given and not complain. And sometimes when you'd go to a party as a kid and somebody would give you something and you'd go, oh no, that I did not want that green one. I had my eye on that pink sparkly one, or that peacock blue one over there. This is not really working for my vision. Of course, and this is the thing, I would never have said anything as a kid, because I knew better. Like, you take it, you say it graciously, you say thank you very much. But that's not to say I didn't know what the thing was that I wanted. So when people say things like, I don't know, I don't have any ideas at the moment, or they'll say, I don't know, I can never make a decision, or I don't know, I'm just waiting. I know that I am so the opposite, and sometimes that's to my detriment, because I'm trying to do all these things in a day and feel energized and feel good and all the rest of it. And sometimes it can be really hard to be able to actually action the things. But this sense of knowing what you want is actually a really great thing. Because, oh my goodness, we've all been on shopping trips, or we've been in restaurants and observed this, where there are ditherers. You know, those people who go, I don't know if it's this, or I'm not really sure what it, can I just see that menu again? And it often happens, in airports, or if you're trying to buy that last minute train ticket and somebody's like, I don't know what to go for. And you're standing in the queue behind them going, just make a decision, come on, quickly. And of course, I have to sit back into a meditative state and be like, take as long as you want. This train will wait for me. It's all okay. It's all groovy. So, knowing what you want, for me, has been game-changing. Because what has happened and what's been able, from I guess the work that I've been able to do, I can't get my words out, the work that I've been able to do, I have been able to focus and break it down and actually get the things done that I want. So by knowing what I want and understanding how I want to feel and what's important to me and what my values are, and knowing what I want, I actually spend a lot of my life feeling pretty good. And that's not all the time. Of course it isn't. I'm a human being with all the feelings and all the hormones sometimes. But generally, I feel that I am in alignment rather than not. And that's a really wonderful place to be, and one that I endeavour to maintain. Because it's one of those things, isn't it? Like once you felt it, once you're like, really good. This is going well. People seem to be resonating with this, or I'm feeling good. You want more of the things. So if you have had this moment where people are like, woof, she knows what she wants, she's very particular, yes. Be particular, because balancing, or I guess starting with those pillars that are beautifully balanced of like, this is important, these are my goals, these are my values, these are my non-negotiables, these are my don't even think about it. That's what's going to keep you really strong and secure going forward in your business. Also, as well, these things will help you write contracts and terms and conditions. They'll help you say no to things that are not aligned. They're so good. Okay, number 3. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to take a breath because all these things, they're a bit, because they're real. Anyway, okay, here we go. One of the things that I've been told a lot is that how do they say it? They say, you make me feel exhausted. And this has been an odd one because we all know what those people who are exhausting, as in you sit next to them on a flight, or maybe you've had a friend that's like, if we could just speak for 4 hours every day, that would be amazing. And I'm not that person, because actually I'm not that needy. Matt might disagree, but for a lot of people in my life, I am not that needy friend. Like, I can do my own stuff behind the scenes and not need anyone in that situation. But the thing about the exhausting thing is usually a sign that you seem to be doing stuff and it's annoying, because now you're making me look at what I am or what I'm not doing. And this has been an interesting conversation to have. And the realization that I take away from it is the exhausting situation is actually nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with me. Like how I'm living my life, I'm not telling other people what they need to do. I'm not saying like, come on, mate, seems like you haven't sent that email or did it. I'm actually very boundaried in terms of my friends. And yes, of course, if somebody asked for my help or they wanted me to, help them in some way, then I absolutely would. But I'm not that, I'm going to bang on your door and tell you about yourself. I'm just not that person. And the way that I've seen this shown up, because you yourself might have been like, okay, she seems to be doing a lot and she's got 2 kids and all the rest of it. Okay, the first thing I want to say is I am often, I would say 85% of the time, I am in bed by 9 o'clock, asleep. It's not cool. It's not aspirational. Maybe it is, but I'm in bed early and I get up early before my kids. And sometimes there are things, because of me doing lots of things, that don't come into the mix. So probably before COVID, like I didn't maybe have, I mean, you know, I had a newborn and all the rest of it. So this is probably not symptomatic. This is more of kind of life things. But I wasn't somebody who'd be like, oh my goodness, let's have 20 coffees with 20 different people per week. Let's go on all the play dates. I'm probably not that sociable. I am when I'm in the room or in the park with somebody, like, you know, I'm present, I'm there. It's not like I'm wishing that I was somewhere else, but I am very focused and I really have to have a word with what time I have available. And sometimes it's that moment, like yesterday I went for a walk on Hampstead Heath with my friend, a 2-hour walk, and it was so brilliant. We were able to go through everything and catch up and have a laugh, and oh my goodness, it was great. But it was an 8 o'clock in the morning meetup. Now, if she suddenly said, right, I need to have a half an hour chat with you every single week for the next 4 weeks, I might not be able to do that because it always just seems to come round again. So actually having those blocks of time have been really good. But to go back to that situation of being exhausting, on paper, I've come to realise that I do make moves. So I'm not that person that talks about something for 10 years and finally makes a decision and then it goes, yeah, in the end I didn't do it. I am usually that person, that instinctive person who makes moves. I wanted to build a podcast, I made a decision, I cracked on, even though I didn't do it perfectly. I'm still not doing it perfectly. I wanted to become a coach. Yeah, sure, I'll sign up for the diploma. And that does, you know, it's not like I've ended up in Ibiza and be like, I've just married this man and he seemed very nice. And no, I mean, there are kind of decisions that are not as flippant as that. But sometimes I do have those instinctive, like, I can't ignore this any longer. I've got to make some moves. I've got to crack on. Off we go. But with that means that I am exposing the idea, the situation, much earlier than some other people would be doing. So perhaps I'm opening myself up to criticism or mistakes or showing something that is not the most 100% perfect version of something. But equally, I'm like, but I feel like this is now, and I've always been that person of like, let's move with it. Let's get the ball rolling. So this exhausting situation, it's an interesting one, but I want to reassure you, if you've ever watched me online and you're like, yeah, she does seem to be doing a lot, I am always sleeping. Well, when my kids will allow, but that's another story. Okay, number 4. She has loads of wacky ideas. Wacky ideas has been one that's followed me around because I knew very early on, I think I was maybe about 6 or 7, when I looked around and I just thought, oh no, I'm different to lots of these people. I wonder how this is going to be. And how I had that kind of sense at 6 or 7, I'm not really sure, but I did. And very quickly, I started to come home and ask different questions. And it was almost like when I came home, especially with my mum, because my mum was at home at that stage, was I'd have my day at school and then I'd come home and I'd almost ask her or expect her to fill in the gaps of like all the education that I was missing from school, of like, so how is it that you do what you love? Or if I wanted to go to drama school, when could I do that? Or how do people make money, etc. So this sense of wacky ideas, it's an interesting one because I have never, okay, Is that true? Is that true? Okay, I might have had like 2%, 5% of ideas that I've had that have been wild and not feasible in the slightest. But generally, I would not say that my ideas are wacky. I am not one of those, like Frank from Father of the Bride, of like, we're going to do this and we're going to have swans in the garden. I'm not that person. But to somebody who has sat behind a desk, the same desk for 30 years, and who has to work up to perhaps having a different sandwich for their lunch, me kind of bumbling around, they might be like, you're full of wacky ideas. What are you doing? So again, this has served me well as an adult because I can see things from all different perspectives, and it helps my acting. You know, there's one of these early acting games that you do where you throw a ball to each other. I threw a lot of balls at drama school. You throw it to each other. You know, it's all about the group and coming together and focus and all the rest of it. And then sometimes what you might do is you throw the ball to somebody else and then it becomes something else. So you're like, it's a phone and I'm speaking to somebody, or now it's a lawnmower, or it's doing all these sort of things. Those wacky ideas, that way of being able to mix things up, has helped me in so many ways in my career. And sometimes it's helping in my coaching where somebody's like, I've got this idea but I'm not quite sure what it is, and I don't want to do this weird funky funnel where I just say dear first name to everybody. Like, how can I lift it off the paper? And that's when I go, oh, what about this? How would this feel? And that's when it becomes really lively and exciting and looking at it from a different angle. So wacky ideas, yeah. I mean, it may be I turn 40 and I'm like, I am going to get some swans in my garden. I've no idea really. But generally, the wacky idea conversation is not mine. Finally, controversial. And again, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a controversial person. I'm not somebody who goes, right, I'm going to get really drunk and I'm going to tell you all what I think of you. I am not that person. I'm a safe bet. Like, if you invite me to your wedding and you need somebody to stand at the bar and get your nan a martini and sit with her until your auntie comes back and takes, like, I am that person. I will chat all day. And my mum always used to say this, actually. She was like, you can talk to anybody. Like, if there's a baby that you need me to hold and like change their baby grow, I will do that. I'm available for all the things. But where I guess could be seen as controversial is sometimes because of the reading that I do, because of the way that I see the world and how, I guess, the education that I'm giving myself as an adult, it's quite varied. And I'm always looking at new ways or interesting ways or ancient ways sometimes of how I can look at things. And I'm not somebody who just goes, right, somebody said that I needed to do this by the time I was 35 because it's a sensible decision. I'm actually the opposite way of, that's why I guess turning 40, I'm like, I feel like I'm just getting going. Off we go. What are we going to do? So it's been interesting when I observe people who do that way of living. Like this, oh my goodness, I'm not married by the time I'm 28. Am I a waster? No. And you don't have to get married. And I guess it's the rebellious part in me. And what I'm saying in this, there's like no shame of doing anything in any situation. But I think you have to be intuitive and instinctive and honor what it is that you want. So sometimes I can be seen as controversial because sometimes I will offer an alternative view. Or sometimes if there's, I don't know, a group of girls who are saying, oh my goodness, she hasn't phoned us for ages, she must hate us, maybe she's bitching behind our back. I might be that person who says, or maybe she's having some mental health issues. And sometimes, like, I know that I've done it so much where I've said something out loud and you get that look of, all right, Nikki, no need to speak the truth right here. But again, being controversial, even though that's not the word that I'm thinking of, but somebody might say that, this has helped me so much with clients in terms of helping them to lift up and lift out what it is that they actually want to say. Because I don't follow templated versions. I don't believe that you have to do stuff one way in order for it to be perfect. I'm not necessarily a box ticker. And so when I work with people and I see that moment of them being able to find that way where they can actually say what it is that they want and work in a way that they want, it's a really brilliant thing. So I guess my takeaways for you today are to think about what those stories might be, or what those phrases might be that you've always been told or you've always been said. And I want you to bring them into give them some new life, I guess. It's kind of like a plant and putting it in the window and going, right, here we go, sun, do your work, do your magic, or repotting it in a different way. Because actually all of those things that you have that you've maybe been criticized for, and of course it's not a case of like somebody said that I was a real, a-hole, and I think it really works for my work. Like we're trying to do good, solid personality traits here. But again, it could be like the things that I've mentioned, where they were plonked on top of you, and actually you can use them for good, because your ideal customer, your ideal audience love that, and they want that, and they want more of it, and they want it in abundance. So I will leave that with you. And again, please, and as always is what I should mention, please do tag me on social media. Let me know what you've taken away from today. Is there that phrase that keeps coming up, and how can you reverse it, and maybe put two fingers up at it and go, I'm going to show them in a different way. I'm going to show how I can make this work for me. So thank you as always for listening. It's a long one today, so if you've made it this far, congratulations, sending lots of love, and I'll speak to you on Wednesday. Bye.